Good morning. It's Monday, October 6th, National Noodle Day. Gonna need to noodle on this one for a while. All right, I'm sorry. Let's move past all this and get on with it. And now, the news. We start how we start here in America, with at least 2 people dead and 12 injured after 2 rivals shot at each other in a crowded downtown in Montgomery, Alabama on Saturday night. 3 of the injured have life-threatening injuries. As of this recording, no arrests have been made. Although Alabama has a reasonably low crime rate overall, it ranks 3rd in murder in the country. And I mention that in this story, not in the previous one, because by contrast, while there are some known areas of Los Angeles that are famously high in crime, Los Angeles as a whole is a fairly low crime city, which is why we were all confused when President Trump sent the National Guard and started doing hostile government takeover. We are literally a city of angels. We've never done anything wrong in our entire lives. We're perfect. We're a city of angels. The only thing we've ever done wrong, obviously, was canceling Everwood at season 4. Terrible mistake. It happened in an office in Burbank, but the entire city of Los Angeles is on notice for it. But of course, Los Angeles, we were only the testing ground. The Trump administration is doing hostile government takeover all over the place. This is authoritarianism. He is sending troops into democratic cities under the guise of, they can't handle themselves because of the protests. But these cities do not want the troops there. And so in Portland, as was the case in Los Angeles and as was the case in Washington, D.C., the administration has been sued because we still have a justice system here. We don't have to just roll over. When the Trump administration sends in the troops, we still have a justice system here. On Saturday, a federal judge granted the city of Portland a restraining order, blocking the troops from being deployed to protect an ICE facility that has seen some peaceful, though prolonged, protests. The reason for that restraining order was specifically because the administration has failed to prove that local law enforcement cannot handle these protests. There is no need for these troops to be there. This is a reasonable ruling that Mr. 100 Million Americans, Stephen Miller, called legal insurrection. Legal insurrection, guy, insurrections aren't legal. Just because the President of the United States did insurrection and somehow got elected again doesn't make it legal. That's not how he meant it, but he's a doofus. Anyway, immediately following the ruling, the Trump administration announced that it would be sending 300 National Guard troops from California up to Portland. Following that, on Sunday, California's Governor Newsom announced that he would be suing the administration for the move. The troops are still being sent up to Portland for now, but he is going to sue them for the move, which is technically legal, but also a wild overstep, with Newsom calling it, quote, a breathtaking abuse of the law and power, end quote. I'm recording this on Sunday, so we'll see what happens today. We'll see how the Trump administration reacts. Meanwhile, in Chicago, ICE agents are using increasingly aggressive tactics in the city, including literally storming an apartment complex by Black Hawk helicopters in the middle of the night and using zip ties to restrain kids and adults, as well as using either tear gas or smoke bomb, it is still unclear which it was, close enough to a school that they had to move recess inside. There's also a story about a woman who was shot by immigration agents. The agents say that she was armed and tried to run them over after the agents were, quote, boxed in by 10 cars. Along with the other person, the woman has been charged with forcibly assaulting, impeding, and interfering with a federal law enforcement officer. However, activists say that immigration agents caused the multi-vehicle crash and detained the woman, who is a U.S. citizen. So maybe when Trump and his cohorts refer to Chicago as a war zone, what they mean is that they are going to war against the city, which he did already say he was going to do, so. Do you remember over Labor Day weekend when the president was missing for a couple days, and then he came back and he was like, I'm fine. What are you talking about? I was golfing. I was there. I'm alive. And it was weird. I want to note that it happened again. It was weird again. On Tuesday, Trump spoke to military leaders to tell them, hey, everybody, give it up for Pete Hegseth's sexism and racism and homophobia and focus on war crimes. But now that I've got your attention, every Democrat is the devil, every Democratic city sucks super bad, and everyone that doesn't like me is the dumbest person that's ever lived. I'm Trump, and this is a normal way for a president to react. So he did that on Tuesday. And then from Tuesday, that's a good summary. If you didn't watch his speech, that's a good summary of what he did, and a bummer that that's what we have as a president. So I hope everybody's proud that they voted for him if you did. So he did that on Tuesday, and then from Tuesday until Saturday, nothing. Nobody saw him again. No public remarks, no video, no pictures, nothing. On Saturday, he was seen golfing, and then he sent a few texts to Jake Tapper. And those were, first of all, do you remember Jake Tapper? He's the one, he wrote a book about how Joe Biden is very old. This was after Biden left the White House, and he was like, everyone should be worried about Joe Biden, but it seems like he's fine with what's going on with Trump, I guess. So he sent texts to Jake Tapper, and people were not satisfied with that. That was not enough proof of life. It is weird that he sent texts and didn't want to do, say, a phone call at least, but he was seen golfing on Saturday. But from Tuesday to Saturday, nothing. On Sunday, he spoke publicly for the first time, and that was a fairly normal Trump. It was the 250th anniversary of the Navy. The Navy should be celebrated. That's not what this was. Trump read off a teleprompter, which means someone somewhere wrote the speech. Apparently, they didn't want to ask Jeeves a single fact about the Navy because there were so many wrong things in it. Trump also said that he was the one that knew about Osama bin Laden before anyone else. Didn't want to give anyone a heads up then to be like, be worried about him. But he said he knew about Osama bin Laden before anybody else. He also called the event a rally, not a celebration of the Navy. He said it was a rally. Anyway, I bring all this up because this is not normal. Trump's bruise is, I guess it never really went away. It's back on display. Something is going on with his health. I'm genuinely like, if you're new here to the show, we don't do conspiracy theories. I'm not trying to do that here. I'm saying that something is up with his health. And if the president of the United States is having health issues that are keeping him out of rotation for days at a time, we have to know about it. It's weird. It's weird that it happened the first time. It's weird that it happened the second time. Someone should say something about it. And the government is still shut down. So, unsurprising, I guess. When I said Trump was texting Jake Tapper over the weekend, it was for comments on the Israel Hamas war, as well as on the shutdown. In regard to the shutdown, Trump said, quote, good. Jake Tapper was like, how's it going? And Trump said, good. We are winning and cutting costs big time, end quote. Neat. Super stoked that the government is still shut down, no end in sight. And the president's reaction is, quote, we are winning. It doesn't feel like a win. I gotta say, I personally am not feeling the win, but I'm excited that he feels it. Maybe that will fix it for him. And finally, over the weekend, as negotiators arrived in Cairo to discuss the release of hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza, which would set forth kind of the first early steps of the ceasefire deal, Israel continued a series of strikes in Gaza, which, as of this recording, have killed 63 people so far. So, kind of contradictory pieces of information there. On Friday, Hamas agreed to part of the ceasefire deal that was put forth by Captain Peace himself, Trump. So that the part that they agreed to was releasing the hostages. Now, it does sound like, according to Trump at least, talks are going well. Although, he also told Jake Tapper on Saturday that Hamas faces, quote, complete obliteration, end quote, if they do not cooperate. So again, is this a negotiation or is it an ultimatum? A little bit of both, but we will see where things go from here. I'll tell you one thing, it is really straining the relationship between Trump and Netanyahu. Apparently on Friday, when Hamas accepted part of the peace deal, Trump called Netanyahu, and Netanyahu's reaction was medium. To which Trump said, quote, I don't know why you're always so effing negative. This is a win, take it, end quote. Yeah, man, he's doing a genocide. This is not going to be a sunshine and rainbows dude. He seems like his general demeanor is going to be kind of like a negative look at the world. You know, I'll tell you one thing is that I think Donald Trump is bad at picking friends. And that's it. That's the news. Hey, a quick note about the news. As many of you know, I'm a minister. But I am officiating a wedding next week, so I am going to take this week and most of next week off from the news so that I can focus on being the world's best officiant. So no one tell anyone that this is happening so that no big news breaks, because if something happens, I'll come back here and I'll talk about it. But otherwise, catch me on the other side of being the world's best minister. I'm proud of noodles, nudes of all kinds, really. Ugh, no, yuck. I'm such a good minister. Noodles, though, we love a carb, but more than that, because in many ways, you are the carb of my soul. I'm proud of you.